This week's Violator of the Week is actually a majority of a city council in King County. Wait until you see what these guys did. Thank you for watching. My name's Glen Morgan, and this is We the Governed. And as I mentioned earlier, this is the Violator of the Week video that I'm doing. And as people who are longtime viewers of this channel know, that I do like to file complaints and catch elected officials, judges, PACs, and other groups and expose them for breaking the law, breaking ethics laws or campaign finance laws. And if you go to my website at wethegoverned.com, you'll see that I have lists of lots of them, hundreds of them that I've caught. So this is not super unusual. And I've just started recently featuring some of the more current violators since there are so many of them out there. And this oftentimes involves going to the Public Disclosure Commission, which is Washington State's enforcement agency that helps expose or keep public any of the information that has to do with campaign finance applications or financial disclosures and things like that. That's their website. I encourage everybody to go there to become more familiar with what's actually going on in elections and the historical, what's happening historically in elections and all that. This is a resource that I use all the time, and I encourage you, if you want to be involved in the political process, you should learn how to use it as well. And so today what we're doing is I'm focused on the city of Tukwila, which is located in King County. And this is actually where a lot of my family used to live. My great-grandfather had a farm located downtown Tukwila. So did my grandfather. My dad went to high school there. A lot of my family did. So I've got some family ties to that area, so I've tended to focus on a little bit more than some of the other cities. And in this case, I'm focused on these four elected officials. These are all Tukwila City Council members: Desean, Quinn, and McLeod, and Verna and Zach Idan. And these are the four elected officials that I caught essentially breaking all the same laws. And essentially what they did is they were concealing undisclosed paid junkets and other reimbursements from groups like the Center for Popular Democracy, and a group called New American Leaders, and a group called Water Now Alliance, and there were some others involved in this as well. And essentially, these organizations were basically not, they were giving money to these elected officials, and then these elected officials were failing to disclose that information, these kind of paid junkets or reimbursements, to the Public Disclosure Commission. And essentially what the Public Disclosure Commission did after is they verified these violations did happen. It's not just a complaint I made. And they officially acknowledged the violations, documented them, and sent formal warning letters so far to 3 of the elected officials. The most recent one was on March 17th, 2022. To council member Zach Idan, who's actually stepped down from the city council now. And then the fourth one, I'm expecting it to be about the same. And that's what's happened, is that these guys have been exposed, confirmed that they violated the law. There's no doubt about that. And you can go and look at the specific complaints that I filed against them with all the evidence that was attached to those complaints. And most of this came out of a public records request that I had filed with the city of Tukwila. And there was actually a series of records requests over the last year and a half or so, just collecting evidence and the information. That really wasn't what I was looking for initially, but that's what I stumbled on. And so as I started to collect that information, that's what led to these 4 different Public Disclosure Commission complaints and validation that they're basically breaking the law, as you can see. So I know that one of the things that happens is when I catch these elected officials breaking the law, and the the Public Disclosure Commission doesn't seem to actually do anything, that frustrates people, because it does appear that oftentimes that when I file these complaints that the Public Disclosure Commission is trying to do anything they can to make sure there's no consequences to those who break the law, no matter how egregious or significant it might be. And it is true, I think, that the Public Disclosure Commission does treat Republicans different than Democrats on average, and some people get a lot more aggressive treatment than others. And usually those people that get more aggressive treatment are Republicans, not the Democrats. And all of these elected officials in this case are affiliated mostly with the Democratic Party, or the more liberal-leaning side of it. But what I'm most interested in, actually, with these violations isn't just their violations of the state campaign finance laws. What I'm kind of interested in these series of violations is what it exposes about city staff who actually colluded with these outside special interests to conceal this information from the public, to kind of hide how these junkets were paid or reimbursed to the city or for the elected officials or directly to them. And really that came out in all these emails and these records requests. And specifically, legislative analyst Laurel Humphrey was involved in all of these decisions and these activities that were going on for these elected officials on these junkets and these special interest kind of operations where they're essentially lobbying these elected officials. And you can see in her emails, and I've attached these as exhibits in my original complaints that I filed with the Public Disclosure Commission, and also I'll link to some of these down below. But you can see that she was heavily engaged in this, saying, hey, let me direct it to my attention on the reimbursements here, and I'll take those and don't run it through our finance department and all that kind of thing. This is what she's engaged in, and it looks like she's actively involved in some of the cover-up of some of these expenditures, which raises a bigger question when you're looking at some of these other elected officials around the state and other jurisdictions, is how much unreported influence is going on out there. How many piles of cash, gratuities, junkets, other types of actions that are definitely not ethical and definitely must be reported if they're going on. They should be reported to the public, but how many of them are going unreported? And this whole situation out of the city of Tukwila really raises this question: how often is this going on elsewhere? Because I have been involved in exposing many elected officials in their violations of the state ethics laws. For example, Senator Doss, just a couple years ago, I had filed a complaint with the Washington State Legislative Ethics Board, and she was fined $500 for violating the law at the time, for also misuse of public resources for personal gain and not properly reporting some of that information. And so this really looks like a similar type case here. Now, the Washington State Legislative Ethics Board doesn't have direct jurisdiction over Tukwila City Council members, but many of these local jurisdictions, like Tukwila, have adopted the state ethics laws. And so it looks like they're breaking these laws, and we'll see what happens as we go further down this road investigating what's actually going on here. Now, I know sometimes it feels like this is just patty cake, right? We're just playing games with these guys. Maybe they get a little wrist slap. Maybe they just, something minor happens, but it's not like they're going away to prison all the time. And I get that all the time. I'm sure there'll be comments down below that say the same thing in this video. And I understand that frustration. But one of the things that you have to keep in mind as activists, as people who are actually going to be government watchdogs, is the first step is just paying attention to what's going on. If these records requests hadn't been filed with the city of Tukwila, we wouldn't know any of this at all right now. And at least we're going down the road where we're starting to explore and find out just how corrupt, just how dishonest, just how much information is being kept secret from us. Usually it's just the tip of the iceberg, but nevertheless, you have to start that process by just engaging and being involved. And I thought I would use the city of Tukwila as just an example of how you can go out and do that, because we have to put these guys under a magnifying glass. And sometimes we have to use the records laws, the Public Records Act, and dig deeper, and it's very interesting what you'll uncover. This is why government transparency is so important. And when we see collusion between city employees and elected officials and outside special interests trying to collude to conceal the truth from the public, this should raise a much bigger level of concern, and also make us look a lot closer at that jurisdiction, because if we're able to catch them doing something like this, just what else are they hiding out there? But if you want to be able to do this kind of thing yourself, one of the first steps is to create your own team of people in that jurisdiction. Find people who care about the same things that you do. It doesn't matter whether it's a school board, city council, county commission, or it could be your parks department, it could be anything. Get a group of people together, because it's much easier to spread the workload amongst other folk, and start to collect and compare notes and file records requests and start to go through them so you can find out what's actually going on. So that's it for today's Violator of the Week, and I know it's more than one. It's just kind of a batch. I wanted to batch them together since they were very similar, and just give you an update of some of the many people that we're catching all around the state who break the law on a regular basis and who we're catching break the law. And I thought that'd be interesting for you, and hopefully that helps inspire you to look closely where you live at your city council, your other elected officials, and find out exactly what they might be hiding from you. So if you want to learn more about all four of these particular particular investigations, I've got the original case files linked down below, and you can see the warning letters and the original complaint. If you want to model complaints based on the research that I did, that's perfectly fine. And if you want to learn more, go to wethegovern.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our free email newsletter, as well as to this channel if you aren't subscribed already. And give me your comments below. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them. I do respond to a lot of the comments on a regular basis. I always enjoy reading what you have to say. So I do want to remind and close this video, as I always do, that the only way you have any impact on government at all, it starts with you, it starts with me, it starts with other people like us who are willing to engage, because ultimately the future belongs to those who show up.